My name is Dr. Joyce Gekadi. You are lecturer for Management Information Systems. Today we are going to have a lesson, and our topic of focus is information system security and control. This topic relates to earlier topics that we have been going through. Also, in the topic, we have 4 specific objectives. The first objective is on why systems security and control important. The second objective, we want to establish security, vulnerabilities, and threats. The third objective is to identify how we are going to mitigate the threats that we have identified. And the fourth objective, we shall have a focus on systems control and how they relate to the threats we have, or the security issues that we had, or we shall have addressed earlier. So we can start with our first subtopic, which is relating to why have security systems secured, why is it important? So on this, why it's important is that, one, we want to prevent data losses. That's for business organization. As we are aware, in management information systems, our focus is to promote efficiency and effectiveness in business organizations. And the second aspect of the importance is on to prevent service interruptions. So what we mean by interruption, we are assuming, or we already know, we are a business organization that is delivering a service, so we cannot afford any interruption. So our service must be continuous because our target is to serve customer. What we are doing, we are using information systems as a tool, as a facilitator. So we must secure the systems that's our facilitator to avoid interruption. The third importance is that the systems you are using must have integrity. They must be above board. That means they must be able to do what they are supposed to do with accuracy, with precision, so that we have processes running in the right way. So we have to maintain integrity, and especially on data manipulation, unintended data alteration. The fourth importance is that the systems that we have, use of ICT, the basic or the core purpose is to increase organizational efficiency. So when we have security and controls, they'll enable us to optimize on the efficiency, and this is for the overall gain of the organization, so that we enhance our productivity. The other importance is to promote accountability. So accountability in this case means, are people doing the right thing, and can they be held responsible? Is everybody accountable to what they do? Or are we able to use the systems to help us track who did what and when in terms of systems? So we shall be revisiting the aspect of accountability in a short while. Now, at this point, let's focus on systems vulnerability and threats. So these are 2 terms. They are used sometimes interchangeably, but in our learning today, we want to be very specific as experts, or people who are expected to be experts in system security. So when we talk about threats, these are immediate risks, meaning that my system can be attacked, and they are immediate, they are definite. When you come to vulnerabilities, it means there is potential. It is not that the vulnerability in itself is a threat, but within it, there is potential to have an attack or to have a security concern. So as we look at them, we are going to identify those that are more vulnerabilities, and those that are immediate threats. Now, there are two types, or rather 3 types of vulnerabilities. So there are those vulnerabilities and threats that can be technical. That means the perpetrator is using either a software, a hardware, or some technical knowledge, something more immediate to ICT. So those ones, we are going to classify them as technical threats or vulnerabilities. Non-technical is whereby the perpetrator assumes a form of deception or the persuasion to make the user get compromised or to get the system compromised. So they just use deception or kind of persuasions to make the users cooperate, and then at that moment they take the advantage and they compromise your system. When your system is compromised, we are saying then it's a threat, because your data is likely to be altered. You are also likely to lose that data, or it could get worse if you have a service interruption within your organization. Now, the other type of vulnerability of these threats could be a combination. So the perpetrator could combine both, or it may, the kind of risk you have could take both forms. So those are the forms of threats. So you should be able to identify those that are technical, those that are non-technical, but all of them, they'll compromise our goals in using ICT in organizations. Let's look at examples of variety of vulnerabilities and threats that are common and facing organizations today. The first and the most critical one and widespread is unauthorized access. Unauthorized access. So unauthorized access means you have managed or you are attempting to penetrate a system and you are not allowed to penetrate. You don't have permission. This could be a person within your organization. It could be an outsider. So unauthorized access could be an outsider or insider. For example, in an institution, who could be unauthorized access, but within your organization. This could mean one person is trying to access a service or a process that they are not supposed or entitled to access. So you can have that within. An outsider with unauthorized access, we can call them hackers. We shall be revisiting that its own, who are hackers. So the next vulnerability is internet connectivity. So I want to say internet connectivity in itself is not a threat, but there is potential for threat. So it's one of the things that are making organizations today, in today's world, fairly vulnerable, because once you're on the internet, you are visible to the whole world. You have enemies. It could be hackers. It could be people who want to deny you service. It could be your competitor or rivals. So they'll use the internet to perpetuate internet-related systems attack. Wireless systems or wireless connectivity is also related to internet connectivity, but for wireless, we give it a specific attention because they are more vulnerable. Beyond the normal connectivity, they are more vulnerable. And an example of wireless networks we have today is mobile-based systems. So they are easy to attack. We have Wi-Fi-based systems. So they are more vulnerable when it comes to security issues. The next form of vulnerability is malware. Malware is technical. It's about malicious software like virus that could attack your system, could damage your data. So we need to be careful, and we shall be talking of countermeasures for each of these. The next one is hackers. We mentioned hackers earlier. These are people who have unauthorized access. So they attempt to penetrate your system. They could be programmers who create programs that enable them to overcome even the security measures that you have put in place. It is also characterized by cyber terrorism. So when we talk of cyber terrorism, this could be more of a global attack, or people who want to attack systems just to cause damage rather than gains. Hackers, sometimes they have, or they are seeking for immediate gains. So terrorists have massive damage, and mostly they are not looking for any gain, but they're happy when people suffer losses, when other human beings suffer. So that will be their mission. The other kind of vulnerability, or rather it's a threat, is spoofing. Spoofing, these are also form of hackers. What they do, they redirect your sites. So I give an example. Assume you are using an online banking system. So the moment you are logging into your banking site, so you'll be thinking you are on your site. Assume you use a banking site for your specific bank. So when you think you are logging into your site, somebody behind the scene, the hacker, is already redirecting you. So by the time you log on your credentials, you are logging into their site, and they'll be able to take over your account and maybe empty your account. So spoofing or redirecting of sites, you find there are people who want immediate gains. They are looking for valuable goods like money. So they want to empty your bank account. So they may not just be looking for things that are not valuable. Mainly money-based sites or sites that deal with valuables will be a target. Sniffing is related to the spoofing, sniffing, meaning somebody is grabbing information of your site. As you log your username, as you log your credentials for your credit card, somebody is grabbing. So what do they do when they grab? At a later date, they can access a system. They can use your credentials, maybe on an e-commerce site, to buy goods. So they will be using your credentials because they grabbed your password. They grabbed your card number. The next threat is denial of service. This is a threat that's becoming common as the world advances. And we have denial of service, DOS, which also takes the form of DDoS, distributed denial of service. So what denial of service does is that your system is attacked. And the purpose of attacking is to deny service, is to interrupt the service. So it's a total disruption of the service. When it's distributed is when they target from different points, because they want to cause a global service downtime. So that could mainly affect companies that have huge networks that have global interests. Identity theft is related to what we call grabbing. Somebody could even do it internally at workplace. You steal credentials for your colleague if you're working together, and what you'll do, you'll be logging in assuming you are your colleague, or it will seem, because you stole their identity. So once you log in, it doesn't lead you are stealing the identity. It leads that person was online. So it becomes a big threat, because it will also implicate the owner of the authorized account. Internal threats, so we call it internal threats. Then I have into brackets employees. So this is an area we need to give key emphasis today, mainly because as we advance in technology, as we develop preventive measures, there's one thing we keep forgetting, that the enemy is inside. this enemy in organizations is your employees. So if they are within, they are the people you use to take care of your site, to take care of your banking system, for example, to take care of your mobile money system, or any other system, depending on the industry. So employees, if they are not trustworthy, they are going to become the most immediate threat and the most dangerous because they know all your secrets. So what we are talking about today, as you manage security, your immediate attention and your priority should be to do things that will make your employees trustworthy. This could be the culture of the organization. It could be by putting controls. We are going to see controls. Those ones will be very helpful in making sure employees do not become a vulnerability. And in this case, I also want to clarify, employees are a vulnerability. They are not they are not necessarily a threat, but they are vulnerabilities because we said there's potential that they can become dangerous. They are not necessarily dangerous, but there is potential. Our last example on that aspect is software errors. So we can have software that has errors, that have bugs. So what the system will do will be doing the wrong things and not the things we intend. So we must therefore ensure we have the system, or we're able to check whether our system is doing what is intended to do. So this happens at the time of programming, at the time of system development. You buy a software with malfunctions. So we need to take care of that as potential managers in organizations. So having said or looked at those common threats, we need to think about how are we going to overcome, because our goal is to have secure systems, is to have systems that will allow us to overcome any threat, to be optimal, and to be able to deliver the service. As we said, systems is a tool, or in management information systems is a tool that allow you to deliver the processes that you have in your organization to deliver the service to your clients. How do we mitigate? And we use the word mitigate because we can talk of eliminating, but practically this may not be possible, but we can only work on mitigating or reducing the effect of those attacks or potential for the attacks. So we talked of unauthorized access. So one great way to mitigate most of the threats we have said is access control, meaning you are able to determine or to predetermine who accesses what, when do they do it, and how they do it. So who and when and how. So you are able to then use some specific technical tools or techniques like authentication, means you have a way to identify and to verify who is getting to your system. We have various technologies associated with authentication, like biometrics, among many others, palm-vein technology. So there are so many technologies, and others will continue to come up. But the concept is authentication. You have a means to verify who is coming to your site before they get on board. Encryption is another technique for mitigating the threats and vulnerabilities. Encryption means you are able to scrabble the information in simple terms. You scrabble so that you disguise the information while in transmission online, for this matter. So anybody interrupting your system in between, then they will not be able to read it because it's already scrabbled. It's already scrabbled, and it will only be put together again. It will only be visible or legible at the point of where it's supposed to be received. But in the course, with encryption, we are able to take care of those hackers, those interrupters who may have interest to interfere with information as before it reaches the intended destination. So we have various technologies that relate to encryption, like private, public and private key encryption, VPN, virtual private networks, so, and many more that are coming up. So, but then we always need to know that we need a means to encrypt information, especially when you are dealing with management information systems, whose one component is being online. The next mitigation aspect is intrusion detection systems. So as the term implies, we are able to detect who is attempting before they get into the system. And it comes in form of a software that you're able to install so that you are protected beforehand. Firewall relates or is a technology that it is similar or closely related to intrusion detection, but it is not as strong as intrusion detection system. So firewalls, it's more strong rather. Firewalls are more strong. They detect and prevent. So nowadays, institutions have moved from IDS to firewalls because they can detect and also prevent. So firewall also is a software, is an advancement of intrusion detection system. So you install it as a software. And filers, as another mitigator, takes care of filers, malware, so that you are able to keep safe. Now, because we are professionals, we don't just want to say filers is protected by antifilers. Some of us already know that very much. But what we want to know is how do you use a filers and filers to be more proactive. So one rule is that your antifilers should always be updated, up to date. You should also make sure you are using the most effective antifilers. So we don't just say filers is equal to antifilers, but it means you are able to work out on an effective antifilers that will take care of the upcoming and even projected malwares that could be your threat in the near future. Training of users. So training of users means that sometimes we have compromised systems. We are attacked from a security point of view in systems, not because people are bad or because they want to be bad, but because they are not aware of what they should do and what they should not do. So as an expert who will be a manager in an organization, you need to be taking care of this, that your users or your employees, they are trained well. Those who even support them, they are also trained well ahead so that they do what they should do and when they should do it, and they do it optimally. So when do they, and rather how are they able to avoid the attacks? How are they going to assist your organization to take care of all the threats we have said? So you can only do that by training them. Another aspect of mitigation is on sustained user support. User support. So why is user support critical? It's critical because a frustrated user, we say, in systems is likely to make a mess. It's likely to do what they're not supposed to do or not to follow already set procedures. Because in the first place, they don't understand them. In the first place, they don't know where to ask for help, and they are stuck. So they become anxious, and then other things follow that may make your system compromisable. So ensure you have sustained user support. That is the technical staff who are available, who are dedicated, and who are also having the right capacity in terms of skills. So next, I want to summarize on that part on countermeasures by looking at integrative strategies. So there are two key integrative strategies. One integrative strategy is on having a quality system that focuses on confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So ensure your system is confidential, that ensures privacy for the users. Also, integrity is required to ensure that there is no possibility for data alteration, and also ensure that data is available to the light or to the intended users. So we can only achieve this by some of the measures we have already talked about, that we need to ensure our site is authenticated, all our systems, there is proper authorization and non-repudiation. So we had mentioned about authenticity and authorization. Non-repudiation mean that your system has a way to make people accountable. People can track what you did. So you are not going to falsify that you didn't do something. You are not going to deny. Another integrative measure is policy. Policy is having a structure that is formalized, detailing procedures of what people should do, outlining the guidelines that people should follow ahead. So policy is helpful to guide people on maybe who is the right user, what is the authorization policy, to determine who accesses what and where, and also who can also be able to make any changes or interact with the system. So I have an example of a system, a requirement in terms of security. So just capturing the aspect we have mentioned on authenticity, integrity, and safety. So it's an example of an electronic payment system. So systems control is, as we go on to conclude, means they are helpful, as we said earlier, to enhance or to be proactive. They help you to be proactive in ensuring security. So systems control help you to be proactive in enforcing security. They also help you to use your system optimally so that you don't overdo the security and compromise system efficiency. So they help you to do that. So we have examples like software control, hardware controls, and administrative control as part of systems control. We have application controls. They are specific to an application. For example, control totals, edit checks, and report distribution logs. They help you to ensure that your specific applications are controlled and users use them in the right way, and in that they contribute to security. So as we come to the end, we have talked about the security threats, the mitigative measures, the measures that we should take to counter threats and vulnerabilities. And then we are mentioning that as part of the few questions I have here, like question 4, is, the others are summarizing what you already talked about. Question 4, I want you to reflect on these. How does systems control help in system security? So like I've said, they help you to have proactive mechanisms in place to make sure people don't do what they should not do in the first place before you start looking for ways to fix what they damaged, and also to use your system efficiently. My last review question is something that we continue thinking of after this lesson. What are the challenges that we are going to experience as we implement all these countermeasures? So for example, where are you going to strike the balance? You don't over control, you don't under control. When are you going to make sure that, or how are you going to make sure that you have enough resources to enforce the countermeasures that we have said? Those are some of the challenges that organizations are facing. And the last challenge I want you to read more about, and we had mentioned, maybe even in earlier sections, is on change management. How are you going to make everyone cooperate in your organization to support you, be able to be proactively protected from the security threats? So at this point, we conclude our lesson, and we are going to utilize other resources that we shall be supported with as part of enhancing our understanding and connecting to the other concepts in this course.